Sit your ass down. Sit your ass down. Let's talk about the suffering. It's time to start the pay. Sit your ass down. Sit your ass down and strap in. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt. Let's talk about the suffering. It's time to start the pain. This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
We run through our lives searching for meaning. There is a serenity in finding a place in this world. Going job to job or lifestyle to lifestyle, we never really reach that type of peace and purpose that everyone is searching for. You'll find people saying, I know I'm meant for something more. That's often because they're in a wrong current situation. That situation is comfort, and often comfort will slowly kill you. Those that are lucky enough to find a purpose in life, they become fulfilled, happier, and much more pleasant to be near. We look up to these people, hoping to grab onto what they found, the secret sauce that makes their life worth living. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and we're back with another episode of the Suffering Podcast. Today we sit down and we bring back one of our oldest and dearest friends, the Hurricane himself. Mike DePalma is in studio. Mike, thanks so much. It's great, man. It's awesome to see you.
It's really, really good to be
And Mike,
here.
did you notice that Kevin doesn't read the intros live anymore? I mean, that's
I do get it. I
it's-
actually like it.
Well, I think during Mike's original episode, which was like episode 13, if I'm mistaken, you read the episode.
Yes, I
You
did.
read the opening.
And I got through it without a hitch.
Oh, without a hitch. It was about 10,000 ums and ahs. Don't believe the editing, buddy.
Quiet.
Before we get to anything, I want to thank our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. If you're looking for a car, let them help you find a car. Go to toyotahackensack.com. I buy my cars there because they're the few car dealers that I trust. They treat you right. They treat you like somebody special. You're not just a number that walks in the door. So go to toyotahackensack.com. Also, don't forget to visit belladamacigars.com. Put in the code SUFFERING10 for a 10% discount. Chantel has been one of our most avid advocates, and she continues to do so. So go support her because she supports us.
And tell Chantel we said hi when you call her.
So Mike DePalma. Oh, it's so great to see you, brother.
Great to see you guys.
Mike DePalma.
I miss you guys.
The Hurricane
Yes,
Mike himself.
We missed you too, but we'll take better aim next time.
I had a few hurricanes after, just little ones.
Before we get into any, because it's going to be nuts. I've already prepared for it. Let's get into this week's social media question. And this one comes from Susan. It says, have you ever come across anyone you believe should have never been a cop? Mike, you're our guest today, so I want to lay this one off on you. You worked in an inner city department of Hoboken, and I'm sure you've seen, throughout your whole career, you've seen many come and go. What do you think? I'm sure you've seen people that should have never been cops. Is that correct?
True.
All right, what do you think the characteristics of somebody who...
You're asking one.
Yeah. People said that about Mike.
Stop that now.
What do you think the characteristics of somebody who should never be a cop is? Because, Susan, this is kind of a general question, but I pulled this because we're doing the suffering of police today. And we've all seen people who should never been cops, but I want to talk about characteristics. What do you think a characteristic of somebody who should have never got the job?
I would say being on the street and watching somebody for the first time, and everybody has an instinct. You could tell somebody who just didn't really care, for what was going on or anything around them. I think it's just first encounter. You could just tell. I think every police officer, whether you're new, whether you're older, you can just tell somebody's personality.
It's the situational awareness that seems to break down when you see these young guys. Mike, you've had a long career, and you've seen them come and go, and you've seen people at the beginning of their career in the academy when you taught there. What do you think are some of the characteristics of somebody who should never be a cop?
I think one of the main things of being a good cop is street smarts.
Yeah.
Like you said, situational awareness. I mean, you're getting these kids that are getting out of college, and this is their first job. They got no world experience, and the only reason they're getting it is because of entitlement. Daddy has some pull with the mayor or something like that. So these guys are getting out of college and thinking this is the real world, and they don't even know the real world yet. We have guys who, it'd be 5 minutes before your shift's over, and you get that alarm call, of course, on the furthest end of town. And you send them down there. It's like, I can't believe I got to go. Shut up and do the job.
Take your overtime. You're making $30,000. I mean,
and then the square wheels kick in, and
yeah. Oh God, the square wheels. Yeah, you're right.
It really just cracks me up that they really take the job for granted. I know you need a college education to get a job now, and I think that is mainly because you used to be able to get the job at 18 years old. Now, a college education, you have to be at least 21, 22.
Well, the criteria has changed the way the job is done. You've read some of these old-timer reports, handwritten reports and stuff. It's like, yeah, I went here and I talked to the lady and everything's fine. And that was their report.
Our guys used to just put medical call, give the address, transport it to this hospital. That was it.
For me, it's pretty simple. I think there's a couple different people that become cops. Some of them, it's just a job. And that's honestly why I got the job. It was just a job. I found out quickly it was more than just a job. But then there's the people who got shoved in lockers in high school, and they get a little bit of power and they get power hungry. We've all seen that throughout our careers, that people who get power hungry and they abuse the shit out of that power. And
they hide behind the gun and the badge.
And you watch them in the public. They treat the public like shit. And then there's the situational awareness where you're oblivious to everything. I remember a new officer came in and he stopped the car, and we had to back up the new officers on every stop. And he goes up to the car and he puts his hands on the door jamb with the window's only halfway down. He goes like this. And he's halfway in the car. I go, what are you doing? I pull him back. I said, not in front of the people. I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, if they roll their window up and you're halfway in the car, guess what? You're going for a ride, whether you want to or not. So it's instinct. It's you gotta drop your ego. You gotta release that power trip. And those are the people I don't think should ever be a cop. And there's plenty of them out there because we all need hooks to get in. Let's give everybody a little insight on how people get the job. And it's not an uncommon thing for me to, hey, Mike, who's your hook? I already know. We've talked about it. I know your hook. Who's your hook? So explain to everybody what a hook is.
A hook is somebody that pretty much pushes for you, whether it's higher ranking, whether it's, political, so forth and so on.
Benefactor.
Right. You'd never go to somebody in a corporate world and say, hey, who's your hook? It's just not done.
I'll tell you a great story about that. When I first came on the job, there was a lieutenant that lived across the street from me growing up, So he saw me in my little fun and crazy little world I was in, on the block. And something came about and that actual word was used. And they go, this guy's got a big hook here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And that big hook was the chief of police, So it's, but in inner city Hoboken, we still had to take a test, And prior to that, I was military. So, it was just, it was a common thing used.
But there's a lot of people that were in your same situation without that hook. And here's the value of a hook. The value of a hook is you're coming in basically on their name. So they're not going to want anybody in who's a bonehead. Those days are going away, and I think that might be some of the problem.
Well, there's a lot of talk about nepotism and all that. Yeah. Is it right? No. Is it wrong? Not totally.
Not totally.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You got a kid whose father's been a cop, and a kid's been hanging around the cops his whole life, especially small town like Lyndhurst. You knew the kid growing up. You knew what he was all about. You knew what he was doing, and, so sometimes it's good to actually know the person because you know right from the get-go what you're getting.
And they've been schooled. They've been schooled behind the scenes. I work with a kid, and I worked with his father for a very short time before he retired. And I remember his father telling him, he told me this. He says, if you got to go talk to somebody, talk to me. Don't talk to don't tell anybody your problems inside the police department, which we all are very guilty of. But that was some old school schooling. And those things are going away. I watch people where I work now because I still am involved with a lot of the local police. They don't want to take road jobs anymore. Road jobs are good money. There's your entitlement.
Yeah.
There's your entitlement.
Exactly.
But those types of people. There's lots of different ways to get the job. So let's discuss the different ways you can get that job. Of course, there's your hook. What are some different ways that you know of?
Well, even with a hook, if it's a civil service exam, that there's really nothing, that can be done.
They have the 1 in 3 with civil service too.
Well, right.
So if someone comes out number 4 that happens to be related to the chief,
right,
they're going to skip someone 1 in 3.
Agree. And even my situation, I think I was number 77 on the civil service exam. At the time I wasn't a veteran, so it went all the way down there. So you could see, people were being eliminated, and they actually got to me and Nikki Burke. We were both back to back. So yeah.
Let's get back to
I love Nikki Burke.
Let's get back to the social media question. People who shouldn't have gotten a job.
You know what? Wait a minute. I just thought about some with that social media. I don't want to keep on going back, but Mike made a good point.
He makes
in Lyndhurst, no, you growing up in the town you work in, you see what's there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's another way you could say, hey, this guy might not be a good cop, but not in all situations. Some people just become great cops, but
in Mike's case, he was just very good at filleting.
Filleting?
That's a big word for him.
Yeah. Wait, I just want to listen. No translator here. How am I doing? Am I doing good right now?
I had to dust off my DePalma Dictionary, so I'm good. For those of you, we'll have subtitles in English for Mike DePalma.
Andrew's got a Hudson County interpreter, just so Andrew knows what's going on.
So whenever you hear the term water, like caffeine water,
this is water.
Black cherry caffeine. It's actually great.
The mango is really good too. Listen,
Yeah.
Ron owns from Mickey's Pub. We've been there. We've hung out there. Hey, you got the Mickey's on. I was going to wear mine. Thank God I didn't. I looked like a schmuck wearing a red shirt on the podcast.
Because you wouldn't look as good as me. But go ahead.
So Ron's always been on our side. I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to Caffeina. But I joke when I say filleting, which is getting on your knees, and I used to call them promotion pads. So every time you got a promotion, that's some thicker knee pads.
Kevin is well schooled in filleting.
It was so good for you. They kind of fashioned your name out of it, right?
I made it to lieutenant.
Exactly. He has to take a lot of duck butter in his mouth for that one.
How'd you know my chief's last name?
Oh God. But this is part of the job. It's part of laughing and being able to interact with your other officers. And we joke around a lot, and everybody sees that we joke around a lot. But there are some people who come in this job who think that they're like Mr. Clean and they're not going to joke around, and they never really get it. And those are the people that usually burn out very quickly.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, if you're gonna eat this job and you're gonna take everything home with you, you have to have some kind of way of releasing it. We call it all the time. We fill in a glass. If that glass keeps getting filled and and you don't have a way of decompressing, I mean, the job's going to eat you up.
It's funny you bring that up because in the intro, which you two are not privy to yet, because I'm going to hide that from both of you, I talk about how everybody's given a glass in the beginning of their life, and that glass is used to fill only a certain amount of shit. And police officers' glass are built no differently than everybody else's. But if we don't release it, it will eventually spill over.
Bring up the prairie fire too,
No, but I hashtag prairie fire. I do hashtag. So listen, for those of you out there, I want you to make a comment. I want you to hashtag prairie fire and hashtag real Kevin Donaldson, and I will get back to you. I promise you I will get back to you.
Hashtag episode 9.
I got to get up to date with these hashtag things. You guys are doing it to me again.
Listen,
you're really confusing me
all the time. He's like, you got to hashtag this. I don't even know what a hashtag is. It's that number sign thing.
I couldn't tell you what they do, but I know you got to do it. That's all I got. That's all I'm going to tell you.
We say hashtag this.
Hashtag Hurricane Mike. Hashtag keep suffering.
I remember. I was actually excited when you used to do that.
Hashtag keep suffering.
I
So
do
I
remember.
hashtag that, yes. So hashtag is just a little buzzword. Get the word out there. So if somebody searches by keyword, they can find your stuff. That's what it is. But so we joke around a lot, but there's a lot of different reasons, and especially there's diversity in this room as far as why we took this job. And there's diversity across the country why people take their job. There's some people who take it for just a job. Some people have a calling. Some people are forced into the job through nepotism. Are there any other ways that you know, or any other reasons why you think people take this job? Dead silence.
I was going to say, you know, a lot of guys are like glory seekers. You know, they see the shiny uniform and, you know, they think they're going to go out and impress people. And these are the guys that get jammed up because they're the guys that just get out of the academy. They go into a bar and they got the gun strapped to their hip in the bar just to show that they're a cop. But, you know, look at me. I'm a cop now, you know.
God, when I got on, it was fanny packs.
Yeah.
I still got one.
I loved it. I loved.
But why did you become a cop?
He got fired from Burger King.
They made him take a test.
No, I passed that test. I guess I started in the military and it was kind of similar to that, and you know, it was my community, not my community, but I was born and raised there. I lived there. I kind of loved it, and
You're a Hoboken staple too.
well, I mean, it's
There was you and Stewie, and that's it.
no, it's a unique town, and you know, it's a great town and supportive, and I don't know, I really loved it. I loved it, and you know, unfortunately, as the years went on, and I don't know if everybody experienced it, it wasn't fun anymore. You know, like every single day I used to love it. You know, 20 years never took off. I loved, like, you know, smiling. It just, you know, and you know, things happened at the end of my career, but it didn't change, you know, what I did and the police officer I was. You know, I really enjoyed it.
Well, you know, I mean, and that's really the difference between like a good cop and a bad cop. You know, you got to thoroughly enjoy what you do.
I loved it.
You
yeah.
know, I mean, me and Kevin were talking a couple weeks ago about, you know, oh, they send you on this job, you know, because every call is called a job. In my whole career, I never considered this a job. I considered this something I love to do. You know, I can't remember one time in my career where I dreaded going to work that day. I mean, obviously, if you have
Even
something
when the
to
chief
do.
asked him for a blowjob, he was all in. He was very happy to do it.
Andrew, see where this is going?
It's going to be a lot of
Hashtag
really bad,
this, all right?
Hashtag blowjob.
Yeah, your picture will come up.
Oh, you could tell, you know, both you guys. I mean, it was, I loved to do it.
I laughed.
Like, I loved it.
I laughed more than I've ever laughed. I've cried. You know, I've taken the job home with me. But when I originally took the job, it was an offer. It wasn't a calling. I took one police test. I only took one, and I know guys do take dozens of police tests. I took one police test because I had an opportunity to take it, and I got on. Well, that's not true. I did have a hook, but he wasn't he knew it wasn't my lifelong goal. But once I got in the job, everything changed. Everything changed. I realized very quickly that this was something I was meant to do from the core of my soul. The problem was it got taken from me way too quick. But there's different reasons why people take the job. I see a lot of apathy in it. They look at strictly the dollar signs. When you guys got on, especially, what was top pay? I think top pay when I got on was $60,000.
No.
You guys.
I know maybe.
I know my
35?
starting salary was $24,000.
My starting was $33,500.
And then
You know, you didn't get in for the money at that point.
Right.
Maybe in the long run.
You knew you were gonna be-
purchasing all your stuff too, so
Yeah.
you're in a hole already.
Oh yeah, the inner cities always make you do that.
Yeah, I mean,
So the academy itself is going to cost you. That's a good point to get into. Like some of these inner city departments, I know Patterson was starting their cops off at like $19,000. I used to live across the hall when I was living in an apartment with a guy who just got on Patterson. $19,000. They had to buy everything. They even had to buy their gun.
Yeah, there's certain departments that make you buy your own gun. They'll
We
give you
had
like
to,
3 or 4 guns that you can buy.
Yeah.
And then you have to go buy your own
yeah,
gun.
we used to envy the guys up in the academy. Yeah, they just pay for this. I'm like, wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
I don't think I could have done it if my department didn't pay because you're talking $5,000, and if you go alternate route, it's even more.
That's when I started my account. My department bought me everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Bought
right.
me
Man, that's right.
Everything. Listen,
We had to even buy our hat badges and everything.
They bought me so much, I didn't even have to steal ammunition from the range.
Yeah, but when you guys started, wasn't it like black powder?
Well, how do you think we're going to pay for it? I mean,
So it's you don't when even when I got on, I know $60,000 sounds like a lot of money, and you knew you were going to be okay. You were never going to be rich, and now the salaries are incredible.
Yeah,
Like
but
this-
nobody gets into law enforcement to be rich.
I think nowadays,
But you're
it
not going to
might-
be rich. You know,
Yeah.
especially in this area, living in this area and raising a family in this area.
Yeah.
You know, if you told me when I was a kid you're going to make $150,000, I thought I'd be a millionaire.
Oh yeah.
I mean, making $150,000, you're living almost paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, in New Jersey. So for everybody who doesn't realize, police officers in New Jersey were a little bit different than the rest of the world. We're not a right-to-work state. We are a union state, and the salaries can get very high. But what people got to realize is living in New Jersey is incredibly expensive. So we're a little different than the rest of the world. This should be the suffering of New Jersey police because that's all we know. I know, places in the South, they get paid not even half of what New Jersey gets paid, but it also is half the cost of living. So it all sort of evens out in the wash. But you knew taking the job that you were going to be able to make a living. You're going to be able to support a family. You were going to be able to support the things that you wanted to do. But now, again, I see it. Some of these guys are getting paid so well, and I don't know whether that's the same zest is there for everybody like it was when I got on.
Isn't it almost like a professional sports player? You know, how many guys you see, they sign
just
that big
thinking that.
contract and they don't do shit after it.
Yeah.
You know, because now they got the money. I mean, look at some of these basketball players. One guy, I'm not going to play. You know, I'm going to sit out because I'm having mental issues. Now, mental issues we all know are
every cop goes through
a key-
we shouldn't have went to work every single day.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just watching like this past basketball season. And there's guys that are just saying like, well, I'm not going to play this week.
Yeah.
What if you called your chief and said, nah, I'm not going to come in today?
You imagine if Dr. J or Will Chamberlain said that?
Yeah, no
But to
kidding.
bring your point home, Mike, you might have appreciated the job a lot more because you had to go through the suffering. You appreciated it at the lowest levels as a purpose. And yes, by the time you retired, by the time, Mike, you retired, things were different. Things were different. The salaries were better. You got a better living wage. But you didn't get into it for that. These kids now know, hey, listen, and their steps I understand they've increased in steps, and now they got to do 30 years, the new guys.
By the time you hit top step, you got like a year left to retire these days.
It's like 15. I think the average is 12. I was 4 steps to top pay.
I was 7.
So we did have it a little bit easier in that regards, but we weren't making as much money.
I almost got the top pay with my first department. I transferred out about a year before I was going to get the top pay.
But it was all
So
relative,
I
though.
built myself up. Then I transferred out. I had to build myself up again.
It was all relative. So I had an old lieutenant, and he had retired, and I knew him, so we're talking and stuff, and he was complaining about the high salaries of police. And I think at the time I had just bought a house. My house was, I think, $400,000. And he goes, yeah, when I started, I was making $8,000 a year. And I said, well, no disrespect to meanness, but what'd you pay for your house?
Yeah, you bought your house for $20,000.
He goes, yeah, I paid exactly. It was $24,000 for his house. I said, okay, so if you don't spend anything, in 3 years you can pay off your house. I'm making $65,000 at the time. I bought a $400,000 house. It's going to take me a lot longer than you to buy that. So it was all relative. And again, with the new cops, I have to give them the credit on this one too. The houses are more expensive. So yes, it's going to take them longer to pay off their house. But that's just one of the reasons that I see. And I see that in current police society now, that less of a purpose-driven job and more of a, hey, listen, I'm going to get paid a lot of money.
It's
That's
a money-driven
exactly
job. You know, like you said, you get these kids that are coming out of college. This is their first job. They're not making much money, but they're working all these construction details, these road jobs.
Yeah.
They're
were
getting
just
$90 an hour.
Yep.
You know, and they're killing it every day off. These guys are working every day.
Now there's two terms here I want to define real quick. It's rookie and veteran. I never liked the term rookie. I always took offense to the term rookie. You're a new officer. You just don't have enough street experience, but you have more book smarts than I do. So I never called it like that to me. That was just the word that I never used. But for this purpose, we'll call him a rookie. The differences between a rookie and a veteran.